Welcome back, everybody, to Inside the Circle podcast. It has been another day of group matches, and let's have a look at day 7. Hello and welcome. It's another episode of the Inside the Circle podcast. It is day 7. Let's have a recap and see what happened throughout the day. Now, you may notice, and you may hear if you're listening, I've been abandoned by Alan. He has work today, so can't make the recording, but he has sent this lovely message in to explain himself.
Good evening. Sorry I can't be with you there today, guys, but such is life, a busy life here at the Olympics. Today, excellent venue at the Champ de Mars at the beach volleyball. Really enjoyable, good weather. It's also not a bad venue. Hopefully Sam's got somebody to stand in, some sort of randomer that'll help, and I'll be back with you the next night. Take care. Bye.
Isn't it great when someone just enjoys where their location of work is? He's standing at the foot of the Eiffel Tower. I'm in the back of our warehouse. It's great. First game of the day, first women's game of the last two group days. It was China versus Germany. Now Germany won 4-2 in the end. Early China pressure surrounded that first quarter, but Germany got their first goal by a brilliant finish by Lorenz, the captain. Again, the German pressure was just full on into the second quarter. Steppenhorst scored their second, and it was just inside the post. It was a great finish. Third goal again, Steppenhorst, who once again played fantastically. Got a great deflection that sent it behind the keeper. Second half, there then was a lot of Chinese pressure. Similar to the last game they played, it seemed they've had a really stern halftime talking to and came out a bit more all guns blazing. They did score. It was a penalty corner. It was a great deflection from Dan Wen, and it was well deserved. There was constant pressure. I think it was a well deserved goal for them. Going into the fourth quarter, Germany won a stroke. Lorenz slots it in for the fourth goal for them, and China get their second. It was a fantastic strike from the edge of the circle right into the roof of the net. Look, Germany used their experience and strength to stop quite meaningful Chinese attacks throughout the game, but it was probably the result that was going to happen anyway. Then led into the first of the men's games. It was Netherlands-Spain. It ended up 5-3 to the Netherlands. Strong performance from them. Close in the possession stats again, but the Dutch just took their chances a bit more. The Spanish were strong, running with the ball at the start of the game. First goal actually came from Spain. It was Baristera. He capitalised on a really poor defensive mistake. And actually, first quarter, it was 75% possession to Spain and only 25% to the Netherlands. That's how hard they were pushing in this first quarter. They scored their second with 1 second of the quarter left. Reina scored a great breakaway goal and finished it really nicely. Going into the second quarter, this is where I think the Dutch stepped it up. Much more pressure against them. The Dutch win a stroke, and who else but them? Yip Janssen scores right into the top corner. It was an absolute rocket. Though constantly, that Spanish breakaway threat was on from them. It did lead into that third quarter where Brinkman for the Dutch was fantastic once again. He's had a really good tournament. Spanish keeper was also great throughout the match, saving loads of Janssen flicks through penalty corners. The Dutch got their second goal. Hudemakers scored a first-time strike that no one was stopping that. It was bounced out to him. Absolute crack of a hit. Went on to score the third goal. It was a great run and finished for Volkenberg. Another sort of lack of goals from Janssen, but it was definitely made up by his defensive performance. I thought he was brilliant. He stopped a lot of Spanish attacks through his really strong defensive work. Going in the fourth quarter, the Netherlands scored their fourth. Again, Hudemakers got their second goal. Spain did score a stroke to get their third, but Mariez sent it into the bottom corner. Spain constantly pushed, but the Dutch defended so much better than they had been. They scored their fifth goal from a Janssen drag flick. It wasn't to be stopped from Janssen. Spain fought hard through that game, and their goalkeeper did excellent. but it was just a bit more of a dominant performance, certainly in the second half by the Dutch in their attack and equally in their defensive duties. Another women's game, Belgium Netherlands. Belgium lost 3-1, and frustrating game, I think, probably for the Belgian ladies. The Dutch scored very quickly on that first quarter. It was tapped in by Sanders from a penalty corner flick. Like several of the goals this tournament have been rebounds off that penalty corner first play. Belgium, however, did have great attacking chances throughout. Dutch still did score their second goal via the Janssen drag flick right into the corner. Wasn't to be stopped again. Going into quarter two, it was the same sort of thing from both teams happening. The Dutch got their third goal. It was a fantastic team goal, and that came from a great period of passing play, and it was a crash ball in for I'm going to say this wrong, Vishore to deflect in for the finish. Belgium did have their own chances, but just didn't have that critical finish that the Dutch did in the end. Any of the Belgium attacks in that third, fourth quarter were just being smothered by the Dutch. The Belgians got a quick rebound tap in from a penalty corner attack to get their goal, but not much changed into that fourth quarter. It was just the Dutch just smothered them. Like I said before, they smothered them in any attacks that they may have had, and really the Dutch won because of that really strong defensive performance and the shape against those Belgium attacks. They were good Belgium attacks and strong. Just the Dutch were just far too strong for them in the end. Leading on to the sort of the last few men's games of the group stages, and this was a big one. This was Australia India, and this had big repercussions for whoever won for these qualifying quarterfinals. It ended up 3-2 to India. Now again, close in the possession, 46 to Australia, 54 to India. Slightly more Indian possession, but I think they held the ball in possession a lot more. Going into the game, it was even chances from both attacking plays from both teams. India making really good aerial attacks, while Australia were making far more breakaway attacks through their interpassing. India scored via Abhishek breakaway from a penalty corner defense by India. Great end-to-end play. Great turn and head beating the Australian keeper. Harmanpreet scores India's second via a really strong drag flick. He does what Harmanpreet does. Strong, low drag flicks that beat keepers. Second quarter, look, Srijesh, the Indian keeper, had a fantastic game. He kept them in it. Saved the really strong penalty corners. A lot of deflective chances from Australia were saved by Srijesh throughout the game. Australia did score via Craig penalty corner. It was actually a mistake from the injection. They got it out, recovered it brilliantly, and it was a brilliant deflection goal by Craig. India, third quarter, really came back at it. They were awarded a stroke. Harmanpreet does the same thing, scores right into that bottom corner. Strong flick from him. At this point, there was strong attack and pressure from India, and I thought this was going to be a bit more of a shutout than I thought. There was a lot of Australian chances that were missed in the end. Going into the fourth quarter, India actually scored a brilliant first time sweep into the roof of the net. Abhishek got a game, but it was disallowed from a referral. India remained probably the stronger attacking team in that fourth quarter. Though Govers went up, Australia got a short corner, led to a stroke, and Glover slotted it in to make it 3-2 in the end. They did press hard. They pulled their keeper at the end, but it was to no avail. India were just a bit too strong in that last 2 minutes when they pulled the keeper for Australia to really do anything. And I think that it probably summed it up that India were the stronger team for 2/3 of that match. Stronger in their attack and in their defence. Srijesh, the keeper, having a fantastic game, making some really critical saves. They just played better hockey. Once they scored, they started to play a wee bit more, but they'd probably be really disappointed with that result in the end. Though the bonus they take away, Glovers did take the lead of the goal scoring for the tournament with 7 goals for himself throughout the game so far. Then, once again, we had probably a game that I was looking forward to. No bias in this. It was the Ireland New Zealand game. And I said it in the last Ireland game. You could probably hear me. Every reaction was quite vocal from myself with all of these. It ended up 2-1 to Ireland. They did the job they needed to do. They've come away with not being fully defeated throughout these games. Unfortunately, that team was New Zealand, which is unfortunate to see. New Zealand had a great games themselves. Similar position to Ireland sort of throughout it, but Ireland just got the win. Again, close in possession stats. It was actually stronger possession for New Zealand. It was 56 to 44. It started off really interestingly. New Zealand scored first. Great deflection by Morrison from good passing New Zealand play. Ireland then quickly came back. They scored. Walker, open play steal from a defensive mistake and swept it into the far corner, beating the keeper and the defenders. Great goal. At this point, you could see both teams were absolutely playing for national pride. This was a game that they both wanted to win so that they could come away going, "We won a game in the Olympics this year." Second quarter was very end to end play. Ireland did a lot of absorbing of pressure from the New Zealand attacks, really pressurizing and trying to get those breakaways to get in behind the New Zealand guys. Going into halftime, Ireland scored 45 seconds into the quarter. Duncan with a great shot. He beat Dixon with it. And again, at this point, how no one else in the world heard me was a miracle. Matthew Nelson then missed a really critical open net chance. But look, they at this point Ireland had New Zealand rattled for a good bit. Their possession was much higher. They were keeping the ball, and actually New Zealand were making quite a lot of mistakes at this point. Going into the fourth quarter, Davy Hart just saving penalty corner shots from New Zealand for fun at this point. He was so strong in this. At this point, there was a lot of New Zealand pressure coming in because they thought actually they could get the draw on this and so on. But Ireland did really well to absorb that pressure throughout. Dixon came off with 4 to go, but it was to no avail. Ireland held off rightly with the extra man on the pitch. They really ground out this victory. I felt they defended really well. Hart and Nets was just an unbeatable wall, bar that first one, but we'll not mention that. Um, Two great goals from Ireland saw the victory. It was well deserved. New Zealand put up a great fight. They were just unlucky. Any other time, probably it could have been probably a 2-all game, but the Ireland defensive unit really stuck in and knuckled through that. Next game in the men's was Belgium Argentina, 3-all in the end. It was probably look, that's Belgium already qualified. This was a game Argentina probably needed to see where they ended up in the groups for those quarterfinal games. Strong build-up play from Belgium. Belgium just really kept the ball throughout this. Argentina scored first. It was a drag flick from Schultz, rocket right into the top corner. It was fantastic. All the Argentinian attacks really came from the back line. Good build-up play and structure throughout. You could see them if they were stuck, they came back around the back line. Really good build-up play from them and some good saves from Santiago, keeping them in front. There was actually going into the second quarter, there was confusion with the referral. Now, what had happened was there was a short corner for Argentina, and broken down. First runner got the ball and moved on. Umpire signal for a free out, and one of the Argentinians signaled for a team referral. Now, he signaled and everyone then dispersed because I think they realized quite quickly that actually no, it wasn't a foot which they were claiming to be. Unfortunately, because they've made the signal, the umpires had seen the signal, it means a question had to be asked. So they asked, was there a foot? They already knew probably at this point that it wasn't a foot, but because of this, they lost the referral. So again, when you have to make these referrals with a clean, uncompromising head. And unfortunately, the Argentinian guys didn't do that in that split second, and it cost them a referral that actually they probably could have used later on to maybe get the win over Belgium. Argentina defended well. Belgium started to pick up the pace a bit more and really were relying on good breakaway plays. Going into the second half, Belgium now were applying that attacking pressure throughout. Belgium scored. It was two great team passes up the pitch, which led to a crash ball in for a sliding deflection past Santiago. He couldn't do much. It was a great team goal. At this point, now the roles had reversed. Belgium had good structure, and I think with this sort of level of the game, they just tried to calm it down again. They knew they had qualified. They were probably taking it a bit easy, using this as a maybe a bit more of a rest game than probably Argentina were at this point. Argentina won a short dominate, scoring a great drag flick into the bottom corner with 42 seconds left of the quarter. So it came right down to the wire. So that meant it was a big big quarter for Argentina in the fourth one, the last one. There was a lot of Belgian support. It was great to see, really making themselves heard throughout the game. A lot of really good scramble defense from Belgium. Again, you could see that defensive shape sort of collapsing a wee bit, but still keeping the good play going. Belgium scored their second with a absolute rocket of a drag flick from Hendricks, doing what he does best at the top of the circle. Um, Really slick routine, really good injection. It was good at all points. The injection was good, the stop was good, and the flick was brilliant. So it was good to see that. Argentina then scored probably a minute after. Um, it was a Ray finished it from a rebound save. Great goal. It was referred, but it stood. It was a clean goal and it was a good goal. Belgium then removed their goalkeeper with probably about 4 minutes left, and then they applied a lot of attacking pressure at this point. I think the commentary was that they're using this as a bit of a train, which I think they were. I think they were sort of doing a bit of practice against a strong team with no goalkeeper in it, and they scored their third goal with 25 seconds left. That's how tight it was in the end. Stockbrooks hit the ball from a penalty corner rebound, and there was absolutely no stopping this. The keeper had made his move after the ball had went past them. It was a good game for both teams. It was well fought in points, and really it was probably the right result for the type of game that it was. Now, this is my last match I will go over. Don't panic. I have a very special guest coming to do the last game of the day, and also looking forward to these quarterfinal matches. But I had the joy of the France South Africa game. It was a cracker match. Or South Africa did win 5-2 in the end, but it was a really well fought match from both sides. The French support and the atmosphere in that pitch too, I think it was brilliant. The French supporters were there out in force once again, really giving the players a really good atmosphere to play in. Quarter one, South Africa really put early pressure on, got a short corner, and Geis Brown flicked it, a low hard flick into the bottom corner. Great first goal for the South Africans, and really they probably had the best attacking pressure throughout that quarter. Going into quarter two, France scored 1 minute into the quarter. It was an aerial into the D. It was played across, and Clement finished it really nicely. He's had a couple of really good goals this games for France, so it's great to see. South Africa came back fairly quickly, got their second goal. Horn got a great deflection, which took it past the French goalkeeper in the end. Then, again, really quickly, it all happened this quarter. France got their second goal, leveling it up. Charlet with a really strong drag flick, which absolutely well deserved. That took him to 150 goals for France. Now, looking at that in a French perspective, and the team and the level that they've been playing at is absolutely fantastic. They haven't had as much pitch time and games as some of those other top teams. So for the fact that he's got 150 goals is absolutely fantastic, and hats off to him. Congratulations. Because they got that second goal, a lot of pressure started to come in, and they were really putting a lot of attack and pressure, and actually a lot of pressure when South Africa had the ball, really keeping them in defensively. And this continued into the second half. There was a lot of back and forth play, and really it was a very even quarter. So it was at this point going into the fourth quarter. This is where South Africa just edged it, in my opinion. They got a quick third goal, but it was overturned by an umpire referral. At this point, maybe the French crowd started getting in behind their French team, and really supporting them hard. Unfortunately, Kassim scored from a penalty corner deflection. It was a sweep, uh, brilliant sweep from him into the netting. At this point, there was 4 minutes left. France were constantly knocking at the door. They pulled their keeper. Basically, after that goal, they pulled their keeper, and unfortunately, the other Kassim brother scored their fourth and fifth goal. Their fourth goal came from a brilliant byline reverse. If there was a keeper in net, it probably would have been saved, but France wanted to try and push up with that attack and pressure. The fifth was again an open net reverse shot for him. If he missed it, there would have been something wrong. Let's be honest. South Africa were able to score their critical goals just slightly ahead of France, and that's really the difference between them. I think if France didn't pull their keeper, it probably ended a 3-2 game, which probably was reflective of the overall sort of passage of play throughout the match. Disappointing to see France not get a win in their home games, but like they have to be incredibly proud of themselves. The support was brilliant. The supporters have to be incredibly proud of their team. They did fantastically and definitely did not show the lack of experience throughout these games. And I think they've got something to sort of go home and really be proud of. Like I said, that was my last sort of time talking. You have someone far more special and far more knowledgeable than me to look at this GB Germany game. Really excited to have Simon Mason. He's just on the commentary for the GB Germany game, so he's hopped it back to his hotel. He's got a very nice glass of wine in his hand, and we chatted about the GB Germany game and the quarterfinals that these are going to lead into for the Sunday matches. I am joined by Simon Mason, who's graciously decided to come on to the Inside the Circle podcast. He probably do far more insight than Alan and I will ever give. Now, Simon, how was your day today in France?
I was very lucky, Sam. I had a lovely, relatively relaxed day. The work that I'm doing out here from a commentary perspective is with BBC, so we only cover off the GB and Ireland games in the majority. We'll do some of the more important games as we get through the playoffs and the quarters, etc. But yeah, so I started off my day. I had a full morning of my normal day job of nursing work. So most of it was spent on calls back to the office and to suppliers, but yeah, making some decisions about, the really important stuff like what shade of blue goes on a hockey stick, the really high power corporate decisions that you have to do on a daily basis.
This is it. Without that shade of blue, nursing crumbles.
What can you do?
Brilliant. And then you were covering the GB Germany game?
Yeah, sorry. So, yes, covered the end of the day. Went into the stadium, went into the ground, got there early enough to see the end of the Belgium-Argentina game. Yeah, then the covering off the Great Britain Germany, the final pool game.
Brilliant. It ended up 2-1 to Germany. So it did. Fairly close on the possession stats when I went back and had a look. 49-51 in favor of Germany. And from watching it, it came across that Germany had more dominant possession going forward, and GB had maybe more possession on the counter attack and defensively. Would I be right in my sort of view on it, or that's how I saw it anyway? Probably more from a defender's outlook on it than anything else.
Yeah, I mean it was a strange game anyway because of the nature of the other matches and what was on the game.
Yeah.
So you're at a situation where the outcome in the other pool was known. So the four teams that had finished in the other pool, in Pool B, the ranking of that was known. And therefore, what you needed to do to get to a certain position was also known. So Germany knew that a win or a draw would see them at the top of the pool. And that would then push Netherlands down into second. If they lost, they would finish third. Because Great Britain would have gone top. So the Netherlands were going to finish second regardless, whatever happened, because of goal difference and other things. So they were always going to play Australia. Now, that's a massive matchup anyway. So Germany then looking at it going, if we win and we come top, we're going to play that crossover, which is going to be Argentina. If we come third, we're going to play a crossover, which is India. And they probably were shrugging their shoulders as to which one they were going to play. They really don't mind. You're not playing Australia, who from a pure power perspective is a different thing. And you know you're not going to play Belgium because you're not going to come fourth. So
Yeah.
you're a little bit indifferent to the whole thing. And that's the way the game felt. And it felt like because Germany knew that, they could play within themselves to some degree. And then, therefore, once they went 1-0 up, they could then almost control the game. Great Britain really struggled. I think they're fatigued. They've played 4 games, a majority of them in heat. They played man to man. So I just don't think they created any energy. And the spectator energy was all in the other stadium watching France versus South Africa. So
That's very true.
it was this tsunami of, negative tsunami of no noise, no emotion, no energy. And it really struggled to fire a little bit. So there were sparks of brilliance. The first Germany goal, unbelievable running flat cross from Hannes Muller, who delivered it right to left across. And then Ruhr has somehow not only picked it, he's then rolled onto his backhand and middled it, a bouncing ball.
Yeah.
He's middled it on the backhand, a bouncing ball past Ollie Payne, who is left grasping at fresh air. He was disappointed. You could see it in his mind for about the next 5 minutes. But to be honest, the ball's hit the back of the net before he's got anywhere near it. So, yeah, the quality first goal. And from then onwards, it was going to be difficult for Great Britain. And tactically, they were still playing man to man. I just think it feels a little bit one dimensional. Teams have seen it before. They've done it through entire competitions, World Cups, Europeans. And I question whether, given the conditions that we've had out here, whether that's something that they should have had something up their sleeve to maybe moderate small passages of play, 5 minutes here, 5 minutes there, to just give them a little bit of a break. Because the Germans gave them the runaround for long periods of that game. The Germans pulled them all over the pitch, and therefore they were reactive, not proactive.
Yeah. Do you think that's down to the coaching style of Remington a bit more? I know they've come out with a sort of mantra of trying to play exciting hockey. Is that, like you said, is the fatigue making that struggle, or?
So Great Britain have always been criticised for never really having their own style. I say always. If you look back over the last 20 years, this combination of what is our style, what is it that we play to? Do we play man to man? Do we play zone? Do we play? And it's never really been an identifiable thing if I look at it. What Great Britain now have is an identifiable style.
Yeah.
And it's got them to number 2 in the world. It's got them challenging for Pro League places. It's got them into semi-finals and finals of continental and international competitions. So I can't criticise Paul Remington for what he's done, the culture that he's built, etc. My only thing is, in all performance sport, is what's the anomaly that you can throw in, the unpredictable bit. Everybody jokes in hockey about the Germans always keep a penalty corner routine up their sleeve for when they need it. And they suddenly put out a 7-pass round the back double dummy thing that nobody's ever seen before, and it wins them a competition. Yeah. I was critical of the Great Britain routine when they went to some random between the legs backhand shot against France. I'm like, really? You get that? That's your routine? But they couldn't score from 16, so at that point you just go for whatever you possibly can. But you look at it today, and we called it on commentary. In the 5th penalty corner they'd had 4. Ward had flicked all 4. Furlong had been on for 2 of the 4, but Ward had flicked all 4. And you just change it up. Even if Ward's stats and the defence of him doing what he was doing, they'll have statistical analysis. They'll know how good he is against Dannenberg, against the German defence, etc. All of that. They'll have played through it time after time after time. But at some stage, you have to buck a trend. You have to, if you've got stats, the opponents have got stats. So throw something different in, but different that's manageable. It's not a completely off the wall left of left field. It's just something different. And I just felt maybe GB after 4 games were pretty fatigued. They played in the same sort of way, but never really looked like they were going to win that game. So consequently, if you never really look like you're going to win it, why are you still chasing your opponents around the pitch?
Yes.
Physically, you've got another big game in 2 days' time. What's the compromise? Okay, well, we're not going to run. We're going to do what France did against Great Britain. We're going to sit on a 1/4 defensive zone.
Yes.
And we're not going to move. We're going, okay, we're just going to take a time, and it's really boring. And then we're going to play, or we'll do that with 9 men, and we'll leave a centre forward up. We'll just bomb in with aerials for the whole day. I don't know. Don't get me wrong. I am not a coach for a reason, because I sit in a little box with a screen and have opinions about stuff. was born out of nothing other than just watching a lot of hockey. So yeah, but it just felt like Great Britain never really got into the game until about 10 minutes ago, and then it was all too late.
Yeah, they've done that a couple of times, I think, during these games where it's been last quarter, right, we're going for it now. And yes, don't get me wrong, it's been exciting like that. Their last game against France, I mean that was a fantastic last quarter. So it was, and it got everything exciting. And I thought, oh, actually, this is now a GB team that I think could do very well. Going back to your sort of predictions of going, actually, that they're a very strong contender for things. And then sort of watching this game was almost chalk and cheese up until, like I said, that fourth quarter.
Yeah, but when we've looked at it, and the 8 teams we've got through in the quarterfinal are the 8 teams that we predicted.
Yeah.
We said it would be the 8 teams in the competition. It is. Now the order of those quarterfinals is a little bit off the wall, or maybe we wouldn't have predicted that. But in principle, all the teams that we thought would be there are there.
Yeah.
So consequently, what today's game is almost, I'm going to say it's almost an irrelevance. And if you look at Germany beat Holland, but the previous day Holland had played 12:45 against Great Britain.
Yeah.
So when Germany beat the Netherlands, they played Great Britain in a one-on-one, man-on-man chase in the midday sun. So the Germans were like, okay, you know what? Shrug your shoulders, crack on. We'll score an early goal, and then the Netherlands have no legs left.
Yeah.
And that's where we're going to see what happens on Sunday now, in terms of who's still fit. We've had some injury rotations and illness rotations across multiple different teams.
Yes.
Belgium today, apparently Vincent Van Asch was a little bit ill because he didn't play today. Loic Van Doren did.
Yes.
I mean, obviously the heat's got to him or something because they've had to substitute him out. I mean, well, New Zealand did the same with their goalkeeper. I mean, the number of goalkeeper injuries is quite astounding.
It wouldn't happen in your day, I can tell you that.
I'm not on the pitch for anybody.
That leads well on to the confirmed now men's quarterfinals. So we've got Germany versus Argentina, Netherlands, Australia, Belgium, Spain, India, GB.
Correct.
All great quarterfinals in my eyes. Looking forward to watching all of them.
Yeah, I think people now are going to just the economic burn of people now not actually doing any work in the field hockey industry for the next week is fairly significant. Hopefully, nobody's got any important meetings or anything because certainly, fortunately, there's quarterfinals on Sunday, so people can just use Sunday as their entire day to watch 4 games of hockey back to back because they're going to be amazing. And there's nothing in there that you would look at and go, that's an easy run. Germany, Argentina, I'm sure if I look back across stats, they'll have the run of that. But Argentina with Domine and Della Tolle off the top on corners particularly, they've immediately got that threat. They've got Casillas up front, who's just a live wire who can pretty much run a ball one-on-one as much as he likes. You've got Monyo through the half-back line. So they've got some strengths. But will Mats Grambusch come back in for Germany? There's a rumour of that because apparently the knee injury that he's got, if today was a playoff game, we heard that he would have played, but he didn't need to because it didn't really matter. So he'll come back in. You're looking at them dropping out, or Teo Henriks drop out for him. They've got Milkow in as an exchange player at the moment as well. So they've got 2 players in from their reserves. So they'll be strong. Danabo's a good goalkeeper. Do I think Argentina have got enough to get past them? You'd have to say it's probably an 8-2. If I had to put kind of the betting money on it, I'd go 8-2 in favour of Germany.
Okay.
On that one. So I think Germany would progress through that.
Okay. I would probably, Argentina would have to have if Argentina were to win, it would be by a goal in the last 30 seconds, a bit like today.
Possibly, yeah.
Yeah.
Very much so.
Netherlands, Australia.
Now there's a game that multiple people would have predicted as the final.
Yeah.
And both of those teams, if I think back to when we've spoken before about what the predictions were, I think for you, for Alan, for myself, those 2 teams were both in the last 4. Because there was no way they were going to meet in the crossovers, but they are meeting in the crossovers because India beat Australia today.
Yes.
So that's a massive game, and that is a game. Even with all of the work I've done this season on Pro League, on everything, it's a flip of a coin.
Yeah.
And people will go, oh, yeah, but Australia got beaten by Belgium 6-2. Well, yes, they did, but Australia hit the post 3 times. Belgium
Yeah.
scored 4 from 6 or 4 from 7 corners, when at the
Yeah.
moment the average conversion rate in this competition for men's hockey is less than 20%. So that's just insane in terms of the statistical. Um, it doesn't uphold the statistics.
Yes.
So on a different day, if you watch that game back, if you watch the highlights of that game, and then at the end of it you were asked what was the score, then, well, that's a stupid thing to say because you've seen all the goals, but you know what I mean. You've watched a package of the highlights from the game, and you're right,
Yeah.
that's not a 6-2 game. So on a different day, that's a 3-all. So Australia are actually doing okay. The fact they lost to India today, again, they hit the post 2-3 times.
Yeah.
India kind of rode their luck a little bit. I am in no way writing Australia off in that game just because they've come third in the pool, not a chance. But if you were going to force me to predict it, I'd be flipping a coin. Genuinely, I don't know. I couldn't predict it.
Yeah.
And I think if I'm right, those are the two top quarterfinals. So they do it despite what they're going to go on television on Sunday, that's how they play out in terms of the schedule. And I think, therefore, the winners of those two games are the first semi-finalists.
Right.
So yeah.
Okay. So if things go the way, you could have Netherlands, Germany semi-final.
If you were to go on world rankings right now, yes. So if we were just to look at that, so ignore the fact we've got to try and make some sort of predictions. If you went on ranking, you're going to have a Germany-Netherlands semi-final because I think that's second and fourth in the world playing Australia, who are. I have to look it up as we're actually talking on. I won't because it'll take me off the screen that we're recording it on. So I'm now thinking that maybe I've got Australia wrong. But Australia won the Pro League, but I think their ranking is lower because it's definitely Great Britain. It's definitely Great Britain are second to the Netherlands.
Yes.
But anyway, I think therefore that Netherlands are above Australia in the world rankings, so consequently they would win that, and Germany are above Argentina. So consequently, on world ranking, you'd have a Germany-Netherlands semi-final.
Which again would be an interesting semi-final. Like Germany, I say it's an interesting semi-final. Any of the games are going to be an interesting semi-final. And then leads on to Belgium, Spain.
Yeah, well, you've then got Belgium, Spain, and that's the only one that, if I look at the sort of the games here, Belgium kind of cruised through their pool.
Yeah.
With the exception of today, and I think today was just an anomaly. They weren't really up for it. They'd won the pool anyway.
Yeah.
They didn't. Nothing mattered. So they've played at kind of a little bit half pace. If they needed to win that game, they'd have won it.
Yeah.
Because they'd have found a little bit more. Argentina, I think, played pretty much as well as they could because they wanted to win it because it would have changed the dynamic in the group for them.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, I genuinely think that Belgium-Spain one, it'll be an exciting game, but I don't think Spain have got enough depth. Their goalkeeper, Calzado, would have to have an unreal day.
Yes.
And then Mark Marias, their inspirational captain, who is a gentleman and a genius. He's such a nice guy. And then the players around him flicking corners, Rexons, etc., is just going to have to just do so well. Really, really well. Julie Bonastra is going to have to play really well.
They have to have the perfect game.
They're going to have a perfect game to get through that. So, yeah, we'll see what happens with that.
India GB.
Which leaves us to the last match to talk about. Although I think, from what we've heard, it's going to be the first match on the TV schedule. I think
so.
Yeah. GB have got a decent record against India. And therefore, I think if you look at stats, GB's worst opponent in that from the other pool would have been Australia. That's the worst record they have. So missing Australia is quite a big thing. Against India, they've got a good record. They believe, having spoken to a couple of players, that if they give India the run around, and I mean that physically, they can tire them out. And therefore, consequently, some of their big game players don't play as well. So Harmanpreet, for example, when he gets tired, doesn't flick as well.
Yeah.
Now, don't get me wrong, he's got every ability as a world-class flicker to change the dynamic of the game. But the minute you tire out a couple of their linchpin players, it can fragment. And suddenly you've got a whole load of very free-running players. And if they get on a roll, don't worry, don't get me wrong. if you go one down, you can be three down in about 5 minutes.
Yeah.
And they'll be unplayable for periods of the game. It will be exciting. It will be open and free flowing because that's how they play. However, I think what's interesting is, given that I criticised Great Britain a little while ago for being a little bit one-dimensional, unfortunately, I think India are the same.
Yes.
India, if they were really tactically astute, they'd turn around and say, okay, you know what, we're going to play deep. We're going to thwart Great Britain. We're going to give them no oxygen. And then we're going to counterattack through big spaces because that's what we do really well. Unfortunately, I think their hockey cultural identity will prevent that. They can't do it for 60 minutes. They've never done it for 60 minutes. They'll do it occasionally.
Yes.
And they might do it for 3, 4, 5 minute periods, but get beyond that, they'll just want to play at 100 miles an hour. And if they've got a decent showing in the crowd and there's some energy and some noise, which there will be because it's Olympic quarterfinals, occasionally they'll go at overspeed, they'll get fragmented, and that's when Great Britain could pick them off if they're not too tired from having chased everybody else around.
Yeah, fair enough. Again, that could be a GB Belgium semi-final. So, all being well, it could be a full European semi-final.
It could. I mean, again, if you go on ranking, so if you're just looking at the numbers, that's what it'll be. Because it's going to be Germany, Netherlands in one semi-final, Great Britain, Belgium in the other. I don't think it'll be all four.
Ooh.
My guess is I think it'll be three.
Who would be who's the?
It's Netherlands, Australia, GB, India. It's one of those two.
Okay.
Isn't going to go the way of the stats in the form book. I'd be tossing a coin again. I've already said Netherlands, Australia, I think is a coin toss.
Mm-hmm.
Great Britain, I think if I go down that list that's next to me, I think the Germany, Argentina is 8-2 in favour of Germany. I think Netherlands, Australia is very much a 50-50.
Yeah.
I think Great Britain, India, you're probably at a 60-40. Yeah, maybe 70-30 if I look back over my numbers, but you're somewhere 60-40, 70-30. And then Belgium, Spain again is an 8-2, maybe even a 9-1. So it's that middle, it's the 2v3, which is no surprise because that's what it kind of should be with Great Britain, India. But it's the fact the other one is there's also that 2v3 crossover. So it's middle of the pools, see what happens. Sunday is going to be a big fight.
Absolutely. So I assume you're going to be doing the voiceover for that India GB game, so that'll be a good start to your day, hopefully.
Yeah, it'll be an early start to get up the ground. It takes about an hour out of the centre of Paris for us to get up there, but yeah, it's amazing. And the ticket sales have been great. The atmosphere's been fantastic. Transport's good. Volunteers are good. So yeah, we'll put some voice over the pictures of that first game. We'll see what else it clashes with. I know a number of people are frustrated with the whole what the BBC can show and what they can't show, but they're so limited by the whole Discovery, NBC, whatever the contract is. That is what it is. It's all that we can do. So myself, Matt Chilton, who's our lead, and then myself and Kate Walsh, who try and put a bit of colour to it. I sort of have a bit of an opinion for the commentary box. We'll continue to put words over the GB pictures. Unfortunately, with the Irishmen now having finished, we can't put any more words over those. But as always, the hockey's a real draw card across the Olympics, and so there will be a lot of recordings. So we'll commentate on more than just what goes out live, and hopefully some stuff will get put in the can, and then people can pick it up on whatever service they like, and they'll either hear me pontificating, digging myself holes, getting on a high horse, and generally extolling everything from a position of absolutely no pressure at all. Or listen to the guys on Discovery talking the same amount of nonsense as I talk. So whatever, wherever.
Absolutely. And just out of interest and for everyone at home, the setup of putting, like you said, words over the pictures, what does that all entail? What is the sort of background to be in that commentary position?
We have two options to start with. So either we're live in venue, or we are at the IBC, the International Broadcast Centre, depending on what the commentary positions are. So the BBC have got a full fixed commentary position in pitch 1, and then in pitch 2, there's essentially what you'd have as a hot desk if you're working. So as long as there's a space for us to go across as BBC, and BBC has a great worldwide reputation, so we tend to get a hot desk over there. If there isn't one, so for example, the German commentator tonight, because they were on pitch 2, had to do it what's called off tube in IBC. So they will have a screen. So exactly what you are seeing on your television screen back where you are or back around the world, they will have a screen showing exactly the same thing, and they will put words over those pictures live and
Okay.
have to do it at that point. So they don't see any of the ground; they just see your pictures. If we are at the ground, we'll get there about an hour beforehand. We will sound check, and they will link us into broadcast centre. They'll link us back to from here in Paris, back to Salford in Manchester, back to the BBC studio in the gallery. We will sound check that out at about an hour before the game.
Okay.
About half an hour, we get contacted in our headsets and told where it might be going, what cue points we might get given, because with some of the BBC stuff, you're bouncing between platforms. And
Mhm.
every time you move platform, you then kind of have to intro where you're at and what you're doing. And also with the restrictions, the issue is that if a sport suddenly kicks into a gold medal BMX,
Yes.
they want to show that gold medal BMX, but they legally cannot therefore have more. They can't have us on in vision. So they will literally come in our ears and we will be told we've got to get out of commentary, give it a quick wrap, say we'll be back as soon as possible, done. And you'll be given a 10-second warning, basically.
Right.
Otherwise, we come onto the voice about a minute before. Once the anthems are finished, teams crossing over, get into lineups, and then announce the game beginning from the centre pass. Essentially, we will be told if we're talking over the breaks, as in quarter time and half time. Because if there's nothing else on, then so at the beginning of the tournament there was a little bit more airtime for us, and we'll talk over that and have some kind of analysis and bits of technical chat. If not, they'll be cutting away to other sports. And now that we're into the body of the games, there is so much going on.
Hmm.
Is that we will wrap with a score probably 30 seconds after the halftime whistle and 60 seconds after the full time whistle. So it's a quick in and out talk about the hockey. So it's a little, I guess, it's a little frustrating from a purely hockey commentary, because I
Yeah.
love hockey, absolute hockey badger, and therefore want to talk about the players and what they've done and where they've been and all that colour that you try and add to
Yes.
it. But quite simply, in the context of Olympic Games, there is far more important stuff going on than me pontificating about how many times Great Britain have played in the last 50 years against the Joe Bloggs 11, etc. Nobody needs that. They need to be watching BMX and rowing gold.
Yeah. Fair enough. No, look, Simon, thank you very much, and thank you for sending the bits and pieces of the clips throughout the games. They've been great.
Very well.
The recap of the GB France game you and Kate did was brilliant. Again, it was one less thing for people to hear me and Alan talk rubbish over. So it was great. So thank you very much, and thank you very much for joining us tonight after your big game.
You're more than welcome. Hope to talk to you again soon.
Brilliant. Thank you very much, Simon.
Cheers. Good night.
Well, there we go. Interesting. I think it's going to be an interesting quarterfinal games with some of these. I'm hoping, again, pure biasry, for a all European semi final, which means it'll be an all European final and bronze medal match. So interesting day on Sunday. Simon's going to be there for the BBC for the first game, India GB, and I'm looking forward to it. I hope everyone else is. So really, I've only one final sort of thought to put out there. The last of the men's group games, and I've a bit more information about this Nike stuff. I've finally been able to get a bit more information. I've poked around. I've seen what I've been able to do. And rumors are there's going to be 3 models of Nike hockey sticks. Now, we've already seen 2 of them. There's the laser model, which is the one that's being used by Chris Ruhr. It seems to be a much more Lobo shape. You know, it suits Chris's style of play. And we've seen the mid bow, which is called the Shadow from the Dutch Ford Duco Tellenkamp. The third model hasn't been seen in the pitch yet, so I'm excited to see what it's going to look like and what shape it's going to be. I think this is interesting. You know, the 2 guys have been playing really, really well with the sticks. You know, today Chris Ruhr got 2 fantastic goals with it. Tellenkamp's been playing fantastically, having a good attack and pressure with it, getting nicks that have been close to goals, small deflections. He's been doing really well with it, and a lot of good pass and play with it. So I'll be interested to see what this third model and third shape's going to be when it's released later on. And it's looking like it's going to be mid-September. I'm looking forward to seeing what happens. And the colors of them I think are fantastic. The one that Chris is using is a nice iridescent sort of silvery color to the swoosh on the stick, and obviously on Dooku's it's this bright yellow, which stands out really well on that really dark stick. I'm excited. I hope everyone else is excited. I think the shoes have looked fantastic on the pitch. Those orange and black Olympic shoes look fantastic. I'm looking forward to when they come in next week with us, and I'm hoping I'm going to try and get a pair myself, to be honest. But guys, thank you very much. I know it probably hasn't been as exciting when I've been able to chat with the likes of Alan, but it was great to have Simon on, and I thank him very much again for joining us tonight with it. And comment your moment of the day. It'd be interesting to see what everyone's day 7 moment is. And as always, guys, thank you very much for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel. And equally, you can listen to us now on Spotify and on Apple Podcast. But thank you very much for the support you've shown us throughout. And we're looking forward to the second half of the games, the much more clinical and important games, the knockout matches in these games, to see what happens. Thank you very much for watching, and we'll see you in the next one. Thank you.